Resident Evil is a franchise predominantly associated with fighting zombies. Zombie guys, zombie girls, zombie dogs, and even zombie alligators. Take a living thing, make it an undead thing, and unload bullets, grenades, or knife stabs into it until it's a dead thing. Rinse and repeat. But hardcore Resident Evil fans know that Resident Evil enemies can get so much weirder than just zombified versions of normal things. Like, so much weirder. So to celebrate just how completely crazy, terrifying, and outright bizarre the bad guys in this long-running franchise can get, here are the top 10 weirdest things you fight in the Resident Evil games. Resident Evil 5 is a deliberately over-the-top action game packed with huge boss fights with equally huge glowing red weak spots, but one of the most insane bosses in the game is Ultimate 8, a disgusting 50-foot-tall crab thing with alligator teeth, tentacles, and enough saliva to fill and subsequently shut down a public swimming pool. You'd probably expect to find this mutated freak crustacean in the ocean or near a beach or something, but here you fight him in a giant reactor thing and kill him by shoving explosives in his mouth. Resident Evil rules. Comparatively speaking, especially when put next to the other Resident Evil games, Resident Evil 7 doesn't really have a ton of enemy variety. That said, many of the enemies you do fight in the game have a lot more personality than your average zombie, since they're generally designed to be living, breathing, screaming people with elaborate backstories and gross, decrepit homes. Marguerite Baker is one of those people, and while she looks like a public school substitute art teacher with gingivitis, she quickly reminds you that she's in a Resident Evil game by turning into a contorted Spider-Woman and crawling on the ceiling. Kill it with fire. Okay, I'm gonna be honest here, Lisa Trevor is one of the most tragic and deranged characters in video game history. She was a human woman who was kidnapped by Umbrella and experimented on for decades with pretty much every type of virus and parasite the company had, until she became a conjoined-headed monster person covered in open wounds, tattered clothes, chains, and cinderblock handcuffs. It's bittersweet to have to put her out of her misery, but my god, Umbrella, what is wrong with you? El Gigantes are fairly self-explanatory in name since they're basically just giants, but that in of itself is weird enough. Resident Evil 4 is a game about ordinary rural villagers getting infected by a plague to various disgusting results, but El Gigante is basically just a huge and much less intelligent experimental version of a regular-sized villager. And so the result is basically a balder, uglier version of Marvel's Grey Hulk with equally fashionable jean shorts. Holy shit, is the Skag Dead a revoltingly fantastic creature design. This bloated, two-headed nude deformity has one head with a giant toilet-sized mouth full of teeth, and another head that's basically constantly screaming in horror, probably because his arms are equal parts lobster and gargantuan flesh axe. Oh, and his feet look like backward slugs trying to escape from the rest of his body. This is easily one of the nastiest things in all of Resident Evil. Gross. James Marcus is a weird enough Resident Evil bad guy since he's deliberately campy and dresses like he stole a David Bowie tour outfit from a Hard Rock cafe, but then he starts vomiting leeches while cackling maniacally and mutates into the Queen Leech, a wet, awful monstrosity that resembles 30 octopus arms and 6 bags of fangs glued together to make one nasty-ass creature. From afar, Ivy zombies kind of resemble regular zombies, but get a little closer and it's revealed that they're plant people with grotesque sideways mouths, heads that straight up split in half, and gnarled branches that vaguely resemble pigtails. Just look at those cold, dead eyes and bulbous orange sacks of plant juice just itching to explode. Geez, even I got grossed out writing that sentence. What do you get when you mix an anaconda's body with a whale's face, a spider's eyes, and the teeth of a newborn possum, and then force it to live underground and pop out of sinkholes to feed on human adults? The gulp worm! Get a look at this cutie. I hope it finds love someday. Everybody deserves to find love. Even you, gulp worm. There are all sorts of gross, huge, awesome bad guys in the consistently kick-ass Resident Evil 4, but what even is Salazar? This ornate man-child looks like the reanimated corpse of Napoleon Bonaparte crossed with Michael Cera, and he somehow gets Leon's phone number and harasses him over FaceTime until you finally come face-to-face with him, where he's now become a giant tentacle monster with a huge eyeball and a bone cage that opens up so you can shoot his pale, naked body. What the actual... Last but not least, it's Ivan. Ivan is basically a 70s science fiction movie version of Resident Evil's Tyrant, and when Ivan gets together with other Ivan, they look like dollar store Daft Punk. In a franchise packed with morbid, wretched-looking monsters and rotting zombie creatures, Ivan is downright goofy and borderline hilarious. And he looks like he'd fit right in Conan O'Brien's In the Year 2000 bit. Great work, Ivan. And those are just a few of our favorite weird, crazy enemies to fight across the Resident Evil games, but we had to cut so many things from this list just to get it down to 10, so be sure to sound off in the comments and let us know who your favorite weird Resident Evil enemy is. Thanks for watching, and for all things Resident Evil and video games in general, stick with IGN. You weirdo.